Bottom Tier Character Tomozaki Season 2 Episode 3. And I gotta say that the episodes have been getting more interesting. The season as a whole has been getting more interesting as the episodes goes by. As I said, I thought that it was going to be a great season, a second season that is very good, very great. Nothing out of the ordinary, but not bad either. But I have to say that this third episode actually made me think that it was going to be even more than a great season. I don't know what you will call that. This episode had a lot of complexity to it. It is perhaps the most complex episode, including the first season, which tells you a lot because in this episode we had a lot of, I don't know how I can describe it, character development, but even more than that, we had a lot of insight into the psychic of all the characters, especially of Tomozaki, of Tama, and of Aoi. This is perhaps the episode that has given us the most insight into the psychology of Aoi, how she thinks, what is she thinking now, and things like that, because before we have had hints that maybe she's this type of person, that she's wearing some sort of mask or this or that, but man, this episode definitely took it up another level in terms of that, in terms of explaining her character. So like I said, this episode was very rich and complex in that aspect, and of course it also advanced the plot, which I guess you can say is the main thing that the episode should do, which this episode did. So yeah, you have in this episode that, well, Tomozaki is actually carrying out his plan to help out Tama. He, first started solo and then he got more people involved because he knows that although he has changed a little bit, he knows that he's still not at that level that he can do things alone. And I think even if he was at that level to do things alone, I think he will still, invite people to help. I don't think he's a solo man or anything like that. Unlike Aoi, which I think she's actually more of a solo character perhaps, although she does talk to a lot of people, but I think she prefers to do things alone. So yeah, you have Tama being interested in how Tomozaki has changed a lot in the past 5 months, 6 months, something like that. Everyone can notice it, not only Tama, but Mizusawa, Takei, Aoi, and all the other people around the class can notice that Tomozaki has changed a lot, because he has. And even Tomozaki himself is aware of it, but he's not aware to the full extent of how much he's changed. And yeah, Tama tells him that, oh well, you changed a lot, how do you do it, how can I do it? And well, Tomozaki says that she should just first, learn about herself, smile a little bit more, speak more correctly, and things like that. And of course she starts doing that, and Tomozaki is surprised because she's doing it very fast, unlike Tomozaki, which took 5-6 months, something like that. So yeah, that was kind of funny. And then when he realizes that he maybe needs to invite more people, Mizusawa is listening to them. He invites, I guess you can say, himself to the talk. And yeah, he starts talking to Tama. Apparently they had a little disagreement, if you can call it like that. They start clearing things up, they start talking to each other, so that way, Tama can change a little bit. Yeah, she's changing while she's talking, she's opening up a little bit more. And then Mizusawa invites Takei because he thinks that Takei can actually help out too in his own way. Although he's a little bit goofy, he thinks that maybe he can do something, maybe lighten up the mood or something like that. And he starts telling Tama that there are other people in the class too that, want to help her out. And Tama is surprised by this because she didn't think there were a lot of people that were, I guess you can say, in support of her. And in that conversation we learn another thing too, and that is that Tama doesn't actually know a lot about her classmates. She knows some people like Minami, of course, Aoi, and other people, important people, but in general she doesn't know even the names of other people around her. So that gives Tomozaki a clue on what Tama should do. She should basically learn about her teammates, or I should say classmates. And I think that is what is going to happen in the next episode. She's going to start, to get more involved like Tomozaki did a couple of, well, not couple of, but, in the first season. And maybe that way people will start to open more up to her and, start defending her and things like that. And another thing that was kind of curious but also surprising was that of Mizusawa actually confessing, but at the same time not confessing that he liked Aoi, because he was asked directly by Tama if he liked Aoi, but of course he denied it. But later on in the episode we actually see that that was actually not the case, because he speaks a lot about Aoi. He knows certain things that not even Tomozaki himself knows about Aoi, which is surprising because Tomozaki is always around Aoi. He even says that the reason why he was spying on Tama and Tomozaki was was because he thought Aoi wasn't there. It was probably hinted in the first season, but now it is practically confirmed. And who knows, maybe in the future, if Tomozaki likes Aoi or if Aoi likes Tomozaki, maybe there's going to be some rivalry between, Mizusawa and Tomozaki. You see them now talking, getting along, but who knows, maybe in the future that is going to change. By the way, has anyone noticed that Tomozaki is starting to resemble more and more Aoi in her persona, in her character? Because you can see it in this episode that he's acting just like her face or persona or outer persona mask, whatever you want to call it, but in a more genuine way. Not that Aoi is fake, but in a more natural way, because you can see it. You can see that he's making the same jokes. Of course, he's aware of it, but there were even some times in this episode where he was acting like Aoi and he didn't even notice it. He was making her expressions. He was basically talking like her. He was doing basically everything that Aoi does. So that is actually kind of interesting that he doesn't even notice. But yeah, now talking about Aoi, we can see that at the end of the episode she explains that she doesn't want Tama to change because she thinks that it is the wrong thing to do. She also says that she doesn't want to change herself because she's afraid that she was wrong all this time. So she wants to be correct. She doesn't want to change because of that. She doesn't want to feel like she was incorrect all this time, acting the way she was acting and things like that, putting up this fake persona. Not necessarily that she is, completely fake, but part of her, part of her persona is somewhat fake, it's somewhat artificial. And even Tomozaki is surprised by this because before this he hadn't heard anything like this from Aoi. So yeah, he was actually pretty surprised by this. So I think this could be the trigger for Tomozaki start helping out Aoi. Maybe not necessarily in the next episode or in the next couple of episodes because now we're focused around Tama, but maybe after this mini arc is over in helping out Tama, maybe Tomozaki will help out Aoi a little bit more in dealing with whatever problems she's having. So I mean, yeah, I think that is everything that happened in the episode. A very interesting episode, like I said at the beginning of the review. And if you don't want to miss any episode reviews, please subscribe. And also, if you like the episode, please give it a thumbs up. And yeah, that was everything by me. And I guess I'll see you all in the next episode review.